For a considerable period, the potential of a nuclear conflict was often associated with the opposing positions of the USSR Russia and the USA. However, in the late 20th century, two other countries emerged as nuclear powers. Surprisingly, it is not Iran and Israel, nor North and South Korea, but rather India and Pakistan. These two nations, which gained independence in the mid-20th century, immediately found themselves embroiled in an ongoing and unresolved conflict. To understand the roots of this confrontation, we must delve into the mid-20th century. India, having been a British colony for many years, faced religious divisions within its population when granted independence. With Hindus and Muslims comprising significant portions, this religious divide became a fundamental source of conflict. Consequently, two separate states were formed: India with a Hindu majority and Pakistan as an Islamic nation. This division ignited a rivalry between their elites, resulting in a prolonged and unsettled dispute. The situation in the region of Kashmir, predominantly inhabited by Muslims, but under Indian control, remains a focal point of contention. Some Kashmiri locals aspire to join Pakistan or establish an independent state, further fueling the potential for escalation between the two countries. When considering the balance of power, India holds a clear advantage over Pakistan. With a population of approximately 1.4 billion compared to Pakistan's 230 million, India possesses a six-fold numerical superiority. While this might appear to guarantee victory in a future conflict, it is not as straightforward when accounting for various factors, primarily the nuclear capabilities of both nations. The exact number of nuclear warheads held by India and Pakistan remains undisclosed, but experts estimate that each possesses around 160 warheads, with varying yields ranging from tens to hundreds of kilotons. Both countries have the means of delivery, including aircraft and missiles, leaving no doubt that these thermonuclear warheads would be deployed if ordered. Two main conflict scenarios can be envisioned. The first involves conventional weapons, which have been employed multiple times in the past. However, the current era is marked by the utilization of proxy armies, armed groups that lack direct affiliation with the main parties to the conflict. For instance, guerrilla movements may become active in Kashmir, with Pakistan denying involvement despite effectively directing them. A localized conflict between India and Pakistan would likely have limited international ramifications. However, the use of nuclear weapons has the potential to inflict catastrophic damage or even annihilation. Could either party go to such extremes? The possibility exists, primarily for Pakistan. Recognizing their minimal chances of victory in a nuclear war against India due to the equal number of warheads, Pakistan may opt for a preemptive strike. Theoretically, such a preventive nuclear attack could incapacitate a significant portion of the Indian army. Nevertheless, Pakistan cannot discount the possibility of facing thermonuclear retaliation. India, too, has debated the feasibility of delivering a crippling strike to its weaker adversary. However, it must consider the significant civilian casualties that would result within its own borders. In a nuclear conflict, major cities would become targets as well. Is India willing to pay such a devastating price? Doubtful. Similarly, this sentiment prevails in Pakistan. While both nations have their share of hotheads, they represent a minority. The consequences of a nuclear conflict between India and Pakistan would be dire. Both countries are densely populated, with millions residing in their cities. The devastation caused by nuclear bombs and missiles is unimaginable. Moreover, in such a situation, both sides would be compelled to go all in, as defeat would question the very existence of their respective states. After the conflict concludes, the suffering of the local population would persist. An economic crisis, likely leading to famine, would ensue, with international organizations unable to fully address the problem. Similar situations have plagued African nations for extended periods, and if famine were to strike India and Pakistan, the consequences for their populations would be tragic. The long-lasting effects of radiation also demand consideration, with its impact felt for decades, if not centuries. The Cuban Missile Crisis serves as one of the few examples where parties chose to avoid confrontation, fully comprehending the potential consequences. Therefore, we can only hope that the leaders of India and Pakistan possess a deep understanding of history and will prevent irreparable harm from befalling their nations.